Okay, good evening, everybody. It is Sunday, the 4th of December. My name is Danny Wells, and I'm an independent consultant with R1 International and Regional Vice President, growing our team to nation and beyond. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, for being on our weekly Wales area team Zoom. It's great to see so many of you on. And tonight we have a special guest speaker, Leanna Hallam, who is I say brand new Regional Vice President, but actually she's been a Regional Vice President for a few months now, but still technically brand new. So Leanna actually lives quite local to me. I know quite a few of you on the call are all over the place. So she's in Northampton, and she's actually the closest VP to head office, which is great. It just means that we're really starting to explode now and really grow. So Leanna, I first met Leanna I think I first saw you out and about quite a while ago, Leanna, but when I first started to get to know you properly was when Lucy, Leanna's sponsor, Lucy West, who was Lucy Tregear, went region. I saw Leanna speak at Lucy's car presentation, and I was totally blown away. I was like, wow, this girl, she's in region qual, she's incredible, like, she's going to go region. And a few months later, she absolutely stuck to her word and went region. And I had the pleasure to get to know Leanna a little bit more when we went on a bit of a crazy road trip, I think, to Keens. And I was like, my life is chaos. I was like, but I'm just totally unbalanced, just go with me. Like, yeah, that's fine. And it went really well. And one thing that really took me was how much Leanna has grown as a person. And she was telling me her story, and I know she's going to share that with you guys tonight. But I think Leanna will really resonate with so many of us that might have more more area to grow in terms of like building confidence, building self-belief. And Leanna's just the absolute proof in the pudding that anybody can, and she's going to share her story with you. So Leanna, I'm so grateful for you. I know you've had a really, really busy day. You look absolutely gorgeous. I'm really grateful for your time. So I'll let you share your story and your top tips to region and beyond.
Ah, what an introduction. Thank you. That was very sweet. Hang on, let me clear my throat. That would help. So good evening, everyone. It's so lovely to be joining this team on this lovely Sunday evening. It's lovely to have all your beautiful faces looking back at me. So well done as well, like Danny said, for being on this call. Congratulations for making this commitment to your business. Honestly, I'm going to talk a bit more about this later on, but it's these sort of commitments that are really just going to transform your business over a period of time if you're consistent with it. So well done to you that are on here live and those that listen to the recording too. And thank you so much, Daniela, for inviting me to be on here as well. Absolutely loving it. So yes, I am Leanna Hallam, and I'm an independent consultant and a regional vice president with R1. And yes, it feels like yesterday. It feels like it was yesterday, but actually it was in July. So I'll call myself new. We'll go with the new regional vice president. It doesn't get boring, so we'll just stick with that. And I've actually just hit my 4-year anniversary in R1, which is really exciting. Don't know where that time has gone at all. So I kick-started my business this month, December 2012, so a little while ago now. But you know what? I've never looked back at all. And before starting R1, just to give you a brief background, because some of you probably don't even know who I am, I had actually had a really successful career in the restaurant industry, and I'd run numerous restaurants across the country. I loved what I did within reason, apart from the hours. And I had actually started to get such good results with my restaurants that I was starting to train and coach other people how to do the same thing, which is quite interesting. And financially, I was comfortable. I was okay. Me and my husband both brought in good paychecks. We were okay. But in terms of time, I was so uncomfortable. I was so time poor. It was a crazy, crazy time. And I called myself successful, but really I had no time for friends and family, like the most important people in my life. So really, was I that successful looking back? No. Like, I had gone up the ladder and things like that, what you think you're meant to do before you hear about network marketing and other options. But actually, I wasn't successful looking back because I had no time for the important people. So just to give you a snapshot of what was actually going on in my life and why I was so time poor. So my job was actually taking around 70 to 100 hours a week of my job. I actually ended up in hospital at one point because I was so exhausted. I had an hour commute to work and back. I was moving house. I was getting married in less than 10 months, my sister as well. And unfortunately, my dad was terminally ill over an hour away from where I was living. So there was so much going on. I just had no time for anything else. And also, I didn't think I could be like good at anything else. I just felt like I'd found my thing that I was good at, and that was my path. I didn't really think of any other way. So I wasn't looking to change it because I didn't know another way. So I had no idea how I was going to fit this in. I just knew when I heard about Arbonne, I had to find a way. I had to find a way in that craziness to actually just do Arbonne. I had to, because I couldn't continue being so time poor. I didn't want my life to carry on like that. Yes, fair enough, I wasn't going to get married every single year and things like that. But if it wasn't getting married, it was going to be something else, you know. So I knew I had to change something. So my Arbonne journey started in December 2012, and I actually had a really incredible start. You wouldn't ever believe at the beginning I had self-esteem issues, to be honest, because within 2 weeks I was a district manager. Within 4 weeks my business had turned over 10,000 QBs, and I was in qualification for area manager. So can you believe that? I didn't complete, like, thank goodness, because I would have been a horrendous area manager if I'd completed after a couple of months. But actually 10 months into my business, so that would have been October 2013, I then promoted to area manager. But then I stayed area manager for nearly 3 years. So that was my stumbling block and where I had to grow. And yeah, so where was I? So how did I get off to such a flying start to then stay at area manager for 3 years? Well, really, I had such a big why. Like, I just had to run. I was just running as fast as I possibly could because I was so unhappy. And second of all, I did have a skill set that enabled me to get to area a little bit quicker than maybe some people do. Like, I was already doing leadership and things like that. But actually, when I got to area manager, my self-esteem, believe it or not, was in a poor place before area manager. But when I got to area manager, you'd think you'd get to area manager and your self-esteem would go up. Mine actually went down. My self-worth went down. Don't quite understand why, but I think it was a lot to do with the comparison game. So, oh, I was allowed to are you there? I would literally look at all the other area managers, the regional vice presidents, the national vice presidents, and I'd be in such awe of them that I couldn't understand how I could ever be as good as anyone else around me. And it just got worse and worse. And it was even at a point that I hate saying this back because it's so bad, but I would actually say to myself, like, I didn't think I was cool enough. How crazy is that? I actually felt like I wasn't cool enough to be a leader like I was seeing other people be, which is just a crazy, crazy thing to think. And also, you might have heard of Area Retreat. The first one I went to so it must have been early 2014, whereas most people get excited about it, I was dreading Area Retreat. I was absolutely dreading it. I was going to have to go and talk to these incredible leaders, and they might ask me questions and then I might not be able to answer them, and they'll ask me about me going region and I wouldn't have a date, and I was just, oh God, such a fluffy mess. And you know what's interesting though, with all of this and all this panic and bad self-esteem, I always knew in my heart that I would be an executive national vice president. I just didn't know how. I didn't know how to overcome it. But the main reason I've turned it around, so now I do have confidence, I do have good self-esteem. What was it? Oh my goodness, what was I saying?
Anyone can do this, right?
Anyone. What was I just saying? I was going off on a tangent.
You turned it around. You had low self-esteem, and then you turned it around. You knew you were going to be.
Yeah. Because I was willing to figure out the how. Like, that is the reason why. I could have stayed there and just been moany and miserable, but I knew that I could turn it around. So as long as you've got whatever holds you back in Arbonne, whatever it is you need to grow with, if you're willing to find a way to fix the problem, you absolutely can. You just need to be willing to do what it takes, and things won't change unless you do, and that's so important to remember. And also, when I was an area manager, there were so many different life events that happened that just kept knocking me down. So I won't go through the whole list, but just to give you like an idea. So obviously I said my dad was terminally ill. Obviously my first year in Arbonne, he did pass away. That was only 2 weeks before my sister's wedding. It was only 3 months before mine. So I really mentally struggled with accepting that he missed my wedding by a few months. That was really difficult. A couple of months after that, I then had a head injury so bad I couldn't even do my restaurant job anymore. I was in bed for weeks and weeks and months. I couldn't drive, I couldn't walk, and when I could walk, I'd need a stick. What else? I fell pregnant, which was amazing, but then I had 20 weeks worth of awful pregnancy sickness, awful. I had a horrendous birth, won't go into the details. So I had a few things that kept like knocking me down. But like I said, I was willing to try and fight through. Some of the things that I was going through, I've actually seen people quit Arbonne over things not even as big as that. So like, when life happens, you've just got to accept that life happens. I know at times it's hard, but as long as you stick around and you're willing to work through it, you're going to become a stronger person by sticking around. And also, like now, I can actually say like I'm good enough and believe it and feel confident when I say it. But a problem I had as well back not so long ago, if I said, oh, I'm good enough, I love myself, I'd cringe. I'd be like, that's me being big-headed. I can't say that. I don't want to be big-headed. Everyone's going to think I'm big-headed. Get over your ego. Seriously, like it's okay to love yourself. It's okay to believe that you're enough. So just start learning to believe in you and that you are enough. You don't have to be like Ian Pritchard. You don't have to be like Daniela. You are you, and that's enough. You just need to become the best version of yourself. And personal development is such a massive, massive part of our business. Massive. More than I ever realised when I started this business. And if you're not doing personal development consistently over a period of time, or even if you're not doing it at all, I hope there's no one on this call that's not doing any personal development, but you're massively holding yourself back in this business more than you'll ever realise. So I totally embrace personal development. I've always been pretty good at personal development, but when I realised that things had to change, I took it to another level and I did more personal development than ever before because I had big issues in here that needed sorting and I knew I had to make a difference and make a change. And we need to work on ourselves every day to grow into the leader that we need to be, the leader that we want to be, to attract the people into our business that we want to be attracting. When you're personally developing yourself every day as well, the thoughts in your head begin to change and you don't even know how it's just happened. Just suddenly you're thinking differently, you're speaking differently. Sometimes now the words that come out my mouth, I'm like, how do I even know that? Where did that even come from? How can I even give that advice? Like, it's so funny how these things just suddenly change. Your results become better in the process as well. You suddenly turn over more products in your business. Everything starts to change. And you know what's even better is that you feel happier. You're more grateful. You're more content. You're more centered. Everything just becomes so much better and calmer. So here are some top tips following on from that to help with growing confidence. Even if you feel really confident in yourself and you have really good self-esteem, like there's going to be people in your team that you sponsor or maybe you sponsored already that are going to need your help. So definitely take on board these things because these things really help me. So number one, I've already said this, but learn to love yourself. My goodness, I was so mean to myself. It was horrific. The sort of things I'd say to myself, I wouldn't say to another human being. So, you know, you really need to learn to love yourself. So I learned to love me and accept me. And there was one main thing I did to work on this, and that was doing positive affirmations. And it's a training in itself, but just briefly, positive affirmations for anyone that doesn't know is basically positive self-talk. We talk to ourselves all the time. Like you're saying something in your head right now. Oh, I like her top. I don't like her top. Oh, what's that in the background? Is that photos? You know, oh, let's write that down. Like you're having these conversations in your head all the time. But when you're doing positive self-talk, you're doing those affirmations, what you're doing is starting to take control over the conversations in your head. And, you know, when I heard this, I was like, that is impossible. But it's not. You actually can control your thoughts. Sometimes, obviously, your head's going to go off on a tangent and you will have these moments where you have random conversations in your head. But if you can start to take control the majority of the time, things start to change. So what you need to do is take control over your thoughts and think things that serve you, not bring you down. Think these positive thoughts enough and they'll actually become your reality. So things like, I am enough, I am worthy of success, my personality radiates confidence, I'm feeling confident and happy with who I am, I love myself. All these sort of affirmations are going to lift you up. And don't get me wrong, if you've not done affirmations before, when you first do them, it's a bit cringy. It's a bit of a cringe-worthy moment. But honestly, the more you do it, the more you learn to believe it. And at first, it doesn't feel real. And you're like, but I don't believe in myself. I don't feel confident. It doesn't feel right. But the more that you say it to yourself, it's going to become your reality. You're going to believe it. It's so strange how it happens. So you definitely need to start working on affirmations, and definitely speak to Danny about them if you're not sure how to do them. Number 2, feel the fear and do it anyway. Wow, my goodness. There were so many times when I wanted to hide away and disappear when I was asked to train. I'd never offer to step up and train. If Danny had asked me to do this training a couple of years ago, I would have run for my life. Any public speaking, to be honest, I'd feel sick. There were even moments where I cried. I come across as so pathetic right now, don't I? It was bad. But you know what? I really learned to feel the fear and do it anyway. Even if it ended in tears, I still did it. So let me give you some examples. So the first area training, so Danielle Copolaro was an area manager at the time, and I was a district manager. And Danielle Copolaro is a nation now, by the way. And she asked me to share my story. I'd only been in the business 6 months, and I thought it'd just be a few people around a table. I didn't really realise what I had to do, and I got there and I had to step up in front of about 15 people, and literally, like, I went as red as a raspberry, and suddenly these tears started coming down the side of my face, and literally got a few words out and then had to sit down again. So my goodness, if you get nervous, just think of me in that situation. You'll feel so much better. Doing one-to-ones, you know what, at the beginning, because my why was, so I'm telling you these stories to make you feel better, by the way. So doing one-to-ones at the beginning, I was actually really confident, because I was just so like, right, we just need to get through these people, like I just need to get to area and so on. But I remember as I started getting more no's, my self-esteem started getting knocked, as many people experience. But I remember doing this one-to-one. I was so petrified. I like missed out half the slides. I'd be like, oh no, you don't need to hear that. No, you don't need to hear that. So basically what you can do is be a client, preferred client, or consultant. And I actually hadn't given half the presentation. Hilarious. There was another area training where I got asked to train. Like I said, I felt the fear and did it anyway. But halfway through, I had such a freak out. I pretended I'd lost half my notes and sat back down. So I really did have issues. But you know what? Just by finding an ounce of bravery, even like at the time, it's going to haunt you for days and months. That ounce of bravery is going to make such a difference. You're going to grow into the most incredible leader. And what happens every time you step up and do that thing that scares you, you grow and grow to a point that that thing that scares you no longer scares you, you actually enjoy it. So whereas I used to hate training, I love training now. So like you can actually turn things around. So what are you fearful of? What do you need to do? One-to-ones, product events, presenting at a Discover Arbonne, doing a training, prospecting. Just do it, honestly. Just scare yourself a little bit. Whatever it is, find that tiny ounce of courage and just do it, and you'll not believe how good you feel after. I mean, you might feel a bit sick and you might have a few tears if you're like me, but you'll get through it, and nothing's bad's going to happen to you. It's just what goes on in here. Also, as well, when you're doing that, like, you're going to believe in yourself more, and you're going to have more respect for yourself. And if you've got a team, they're going to suddenly start thinking, oh wow, okay, so she's done that, I'm going to step up and do this. And it's funny how duplication, that happens with duplication. It's interesting. Number 3, make it about others. Really turn your attention onto others, how you can help people through the business or the product. How can you help people? Make helping people such a priority that it almost takes over the fear, because you're more concerned about that person that you're trying to help than you are your actual own issues. So for example, presenting at a Discover Arbonne, Your fear may be huge, you're shaking to the bones, you're feeling really sick, you've been asked to step up, you definitely haven't offered, and you're feeling sick at the thought, but you're like, oh, no, I'm not going to do it. Someone else will do it, right? But what if I told you that there was a guest at Discover Arbonne, not for your team, but there was a guest there that would have started this Arbonne business had they have heard your story, because you would have been the person they would have related to. What if I told you that if you'd stood up and done that Discover Arbonne, the consultants in the room would have left that Discover Arbonne feeling fired up and inspired by your story? What if I told you that by doing that Discover Arbonne that you decided not to do, you would have inspired someone in your team to step out of their comfort zone and do the thing that scared them? You need to step out and do the thing that scares you, because you're closing the door to opportunity by not doing it. Turn those nerves into, how could this serve someone? How could this help someone? Once you really become passionate about helping others, your nerves will start to shrink slowly by slowly. That doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? Number 4, immersing yourself in personal development. Now, I already touched, but I need to touch on it one more time because it's so important. The personal development was a massive part of my growing my self-esteem. It was no coincidence that now I believe I'm enough. It is absolutely everything to do with the I've taken. It's the work that goes on behind the scenes when no one else is watching that's important. Yes, you can show up on these calls and trainings and so on is so important. I'll be at every single training. But what are you doing when you're at home and no one else is watching? You haven't got Danny checking up on you. Are you still doing that personal development? I worked so hard on myself, and you know what, if you haven't read The Miracle Morning, like, I highly recommend that you get your hands on that book, because what that will do is give you a structure, it'll give you an idea of how to do your personal development at home, but also so you understand the importance of it. So definitely get hold of The Miracle Morning. And you'll hear leaders like myself, like Danny, say all the time that you need to read. You've got to read. You're going to hear it all the time, but for some reason people just don't do it. But there's a reason why leaders are saying read. It's time to listen and just do it. If I said to you, right, for the next 5 years, you need to read consistently on a daily basis, and at the end of that, your business is going to be turning over $1 million every month. If you had that guaranteed in a contract, would you do it? Yes, I'm pretty sure you would. This is like that, just you haven't got the contract. You need to do the personal development. The compound of reading a good book on a daily basis can literally transform you and your business if you commit to it for long enough. You'll never see me not at trainings. You'll never see me miss an AAC. You'll never see me miss the Global Training Conference in Vegas. I'm there. Are you there? Like, if you're really committed to this business and you want to grow yourself as a person, if you feel like you're stuck at a level, you feel you're struggling to promote, you have to attend the events that are put on from you. So what was I going to say next? And the other thing is with training as well, is that you never know when someone is going to say something that could completely shift your business. You don't know what training it's going to be. That training you missed last month, how do you know that something wasn't said that could have transformed you and your business? You just don't know. And for me, all these things, personal development with consistent action, sharing the business, sharing the projects, compounded in such a way that it literally blows my mind even today to think about it. So like I said, for about 3 years, I was at that area manager level. And on average, some months up, some months down, on average, it was around 10,000 QBs a month. But you'd think over 3 years that would start to grow. But for some reason, my business stayed at around 10,000. Nothing was really happening. But eventually, it did. All the work I was putting in compounded. I believed I was enough. I believed I was a regional vice president. In fact, I believed I was an executive national vice president. I was ready to run. In 6 months, we grew from around that 10,000 figure to nearly 70,000. We grew by over 6 times out that we were doing the year before. So we experienced such growth. But the thing is, if I say we got to the end of 2015 and I'd done all this work on my activity, on my personal development. Then I was like, oh, nothing's happening, I'm going to take my foot off the pedal. That shift would have never have happened in my business. You need to keep your foot on the pedal until you get to where you want to go. My foot is still firmly on the pedal because my job's not done yet, and you need to be the same for where you're at. You just need to keep your foot down, trust in the process, and I promise you it will happen for all of you. So yeah, that is basically it from me. I hope that's the sort of thing you were wanting, Danny. But yeah, I think you want to open it up for questions now, don't you?
Yeah, do you know what, Leanna, that was absolutely incredible. And I think everything that you said was so on point. I loved how you said, you know, how you are now, and you're just like an absolute beautiful ENVP swan. You are literally like gliding through R1 now, which is fantastic. But I think it's great you emphasize that wasn't what you were like, and I think that's why so many people relate to you, because you have had such a massive journey. You know, some people start their R1 business and they're already really successful people. They've got great confidence, great skills, but for people, for the majority, people are like you and like me as well. You know, we haven't got all these skills. We're not gliding through life. If anything, we're like tumbling forwards, like falling all over the place. We don't know what we're doing. But I think that's really great, because you really do prove that if you want something badly enough and you're willing to invest the time into working on it, like you said about your miracle mornings, your readings, your affirmations, if you're willing to invest, then you are going to grow and your confidence is going to grow with you. And I just think that's just fantastic. I love that, Leanna. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, thank you. Aww.
Right, you have got some questions. So, okay, Lucy Pryor, do you want to unmute yourself? Because I know you had a question.
Hi, Leanna. That was great training. I just wonder, I've got a little boy who's like really full on. I wonder, how do you work your business around having kids?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? That's for sure. I just think that you've just got to take every day as it comes. And when you have a day, maybe when your children are poorly, or it's just been one of those days, you've just got to accept it's been one of those days. The next day is a new day and you move on. I think sometimes it's easy as a mum to get really caught up in it all, and you're like, I wanted to do that today and I wanted to do that today and I couldn't do that, and you get so hard on yourself that actually you've just wasted a load of energy on it you didn't need to. I think if you just accept it and just accept that some days are going to be unpredictable, it's a lot easier to handle when the unpredictable happens. Do you work as well?
No.
At work. Okay, so something I didn't have the financial stability to do this. I just had to find a way to do it. I started actually putting my son in nursery a couple of afternoons a week, so I had that clear time to work on my business. Now, I know everyone's different with their children, how they want to be, but for me personally, to have those couple of afternoons a week, I could really focus on my business. Really, I think helped me and my son, to be honest. I don't know how old your children are, but for me, that really helped me. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I don't know. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm trying to think.
Lovely. Okay, Laura, Shanari, I know you had a question.
Yeah, sorry if you can hear my telly. Hubby's watching X Factor, I think. Yeah, what was your funniest moment so far?
Oh, I should have asked these questions before, shouldn't I? My funniest moment so far. Oh. Can you come back to that? Can we come back to that one? Can I think?
Of course you can. If not, something that was like really embarrassing in your journey that might be really funny afterwards. Do you know what I mean? Like we all sort of worry about those moments, like feel the fear and do it anyway. Has there ever been anything that's just been like really like cringy at the time, but afterwards you could have a good laugh about it?
Were you with Danielle Copolari when she told the story about her and somebody in her team? I don't know if it was you, Leanna, or not. And they did a one-to-one and the person said yes and then turned around to get something out of the bag, and Danielle and the person that she was with were like, oh my God, yay! And then they turned around. Was that you?
No, that wasn't me. No. But I've probably done that before, though. I tell you something I did actually when I was going region. It's not really funny. It's just painful to think about. But I had a team in Newcastle and I was driving back and forth all the time. And Newcastle, from where I am, can take about 4 hours sometimes, depending on the traffic. And I'd put in the wrong postcode. And I ended up going, so I travelled, like, it said 4 hours. So I thought, oh, it must be the right place. and I ended up going like about an hour and a half in the opposite direction to where I was meant to go. And then I had to travel an hour and a half back to Newcastle and then travel 4 hours home at midnight. So yeah, that was pretty bad.
God.
You know what? I always say this to people when they start their business, like keep a log of all the funny things that happen, because it's hard to remember them all, but you just know you've done so many crazy things. Like
yeah, one of the girls in our team, Kelly Bromley, last week did a party, a workshop on a Saturday night. She got back into the car, it was about 11 o'clock, half 11 at night. She drove about half an hour home, obviously it was quite dark, went to get out the car, and she saw something in the passenger seat, and she was like, what's that? And she turned the light on, and it was the cat from the workshop had got into the car when she was putting her body back, and she's like, oh my God. So she went back to the workshop, dropped the cat off, and go back home again. And she rang me. I was dying. I was like, that has got to be one of the funniest.
Oh God. That is so funny.
Okay,
I don't know, I can't think of anything. That's funny. I've got so many, but I've got like a block. I can't think of something in particular that was really funny. That's really bad, isn't it? Maybe I'm just not funny. I don't know.
Okay, Stacey, I know you had a question.
I've got a couple, so I've got a bit of a confession. Well, you know, I've got to put it out there. So this is quite horrible for me. I'm 11 months in and still haven't done a DA because I'm petrified of talking. I can talk on a one-to-one basis. I can talk in a group like this, but put me in a room and I'm done. And I don't know what to do about it. And thinking about it now makes me feel incredibly awful. It's really not a nice feeling.
No.
Anyway, so any tips for that? Like, I've tried to do it. I've stood up and tried to talk, and as soon as I sit down I burst out crying. It's the most I can't even describe it. It's awful. And
honestly, oh sorry, you crackled then for a minute.
Yeah, I just don't know what to do or how to overcome it, because I've done 2 little ones, like one leadership, and then I did one another region training. I find it really difficult, and I need to do a DA. I'm 11 months in and not done a DA. It's holding me back, but I really don't know what to do.
Honestly, like, don't be so hard on yourself. You've just heard my story. Like, I've been there, I've felt it, I've been that person. But I think it's a combination of all the things that I've just said. Like, do the affirmations round it. Like, tell yourself that you are confident doing it. And also, I had a training recently that actually being excited and being nervous are actually really close emotions. They're very similar emotions. And I always used to get petrified that people would see how nervous I am. And that made me feel even worse. I was like, oh my God, everyone's going to know I'm nervous. But there was a tip that they gave, I can't remember for the life of me who it was, said, like, so when you stand up to do that public speaking, say, oh, I'm so excited to be with you this evening. But you know, when you're nervous, it's easy to say, oh, I'm so nervous, bear with me, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually just say, I'm excited, you feel better. They've got no clue. They have no idea. The amount of times I've done trainings and stuff, being so petrified, and then people told me I didn't even seem nervous. I'm like, what? I was like shaking. So, you know, I think it's just, you don't want to talk about it too much because you're making it more your reality. Really do those positive affirmations, maybe put some together with Danny or something that are going to help you see it differently. And then once you've started to do that positive self-talk, then start by just doing an introduction at a Discover Arbonne. I don't know if you've done that before. You've done an intro. So just start with just doing an intro. Do you know what I mean by an intro?
Yeah, sort of explaining me and my 6-second story. Is that an intro?
Yeah. So just start by doing a couple of those, breaking slowly, and then you'll feel like, oh, it's not too bad. And then just do a couple of slides, and the next time do 50-50 and just build it up over a period of time. But don't be so hard on yourself. You're being so hard, and I'm seeing me and you right now. Just
when I listened to your story, I was like, she's describing my whole Arbonne life. I was like, oh my God, that just sounds like, and I think that's why I've related to you on so many of your I've seen you train probably about 3 or 4 times now.
And
then you blow me away, and I'm like, wow.
Oh, you're helping myself love. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The other question, tips on, or a top tip on training leaders in my team. So I've sponsored a lot of people that I would like to concentrate on training them to be the best leaders. How would I do that?
Well, I think first of all, it's almost a training in itself. But I think my top tip really is just by leading by example and showing them the way by doing the do yourself. If you want them to be good leaders, make sure you're being the best leader you possibly can be. So if you can find that courage to step up at a Discover Arbonne, you'll be surprised how that will impact your team. Make sure you're reading on a daily basis. So if someone has an issue, like, you know, right, that's the book you need to read because you've been reading the books. Do you see what I mean? And also really working with them to find out why they want Arbonne to work, so you can help drive them by working towards their reason for doing this, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Just writing this down. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's okay.
Okay, so the last question then, Lindsay Peter.
Hiya. I just wanted to ask, you know, when you're doing your affirmations, do you say them to yourself in your head, or do you actually say it out loud?
Like, we know I'm a mum, so there's times when I don't get to do my affirmations as well as I want to, depending on how the time's gone. But if I can, I will say them in a quiet place to myself, and I'll say it out loud, 100%. Yeah. If there's times where I've got a poorly child or something like that, then it might be a case of just randomly saying them out loud and sometimes in my head, and you just have to work around the situation. But I honestly think if you can find a quiet place on your own for 10 minutes to do your affirmations and say them out loud with emotion, that makes all the difference. It's not the same saying it in your head. Right. It doesn't have the same impact.
Right, okay.
I know it feels weird.
It does, yeah. I've been saying them to myself in my head, but then I've heard mixed, you know, reports on how they work and that, and I weren't sure if I were going to get the same effect from just saying them to myself. But like you say, I feel a bit daft.
You need to say them out loud. When you say them out loud, it's leaving more of an imprint in your head. It's making it more real because you're saying the words, so you believe it more. Okay. Actually, I'll tell you something funny. So some of you might have seen me at it's not really that funny, but anyway. But at Lucy West's car presentation, and one of my affirmations was obviously, I'm ecstatic to be a new regional vice president. I am a regional vice president. I used to say it all the time, and I remember I was doing my training, the story thing there, and it got to the point where I was saying my title and I couldn't get the title out my mouth because at the time I was an executive area manager. I was like, I'm a regional vice president, I'm executive, and I just actually could not get the words out my mouth because I'd said it so much. But in my head, I was a regional vice president. I couldn't get executive area manager out my mouth. And that's the sort of state you need to get to, that you believe it so much that you just want to say it. It's your reality, but to everyone else, they just don't get it yet.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Leanna. So just to summarise your call, work on yourself massively. Invest time into yourself. Read. I love, Leanna, what you said about how all of these leaders emphasise about reading, and still we hear it, but a lot of us don't do it anyway. There needs to come a point where we actually think, do you know what, they're saying that for a reason. You know, no one, and Leanna, I know you'll confirm this, there's not one VP in Arbonne that is a vice president that doesn't read. There's not, is there?
No.
Not. So what
just go to any VP and say what you're reading, and they'll be able to say straight away, that's what I'm reading.
Yeah, and most of them will probably be reading like a handful of different books.
Yeah.
So yeah, read, invest in yourself, create some great daily habits. So miracle morning, like Leanna said, and I know for a lot of us on this call, we are busy parents, and some of us are not able to do that miracle hour before the kids wake up. That's okay. Do it another time. You know, don't think about reasons why you can't do things. Think about how you can do things. So for me, if I can't do my hour of power or my miracle morning before the kids wake up, I'll do it after the school drop off. I'm fortunate enough that my both go to school now. Or if you have to, do it later on when they're in bed. You know, whenever it is, just invest in that. And like Leanna said, she did all of these things that she was advised to do. She did it, and now she is where she is because of that time she's invested into herself. Show up. make sure you're on the calls, make sure you're plugging in, make sure you're asking to train, even if you feel terrified. Like Leanna said, feel the fear and do it anyway, and just enjoy it. I mean, you can tell that Leanna has an absolute blast doing what she's doing, even though she's not nervous, she's excited. I love that. I'm excited, I'm not nervous. I'm going to remember that. So were you going to say something?
No, just laughing.
Absolutely love that call, Leanna. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. It was incredible. And we can't wait to all see you go to Nation, Executive Nation, because you do deserve it. You are one of the most wonderful, most kind, courageous, loveliest people in Arbonne, and you absolutely epitomise what Arbonne is all about. Don't change, just keep growing and growing, because you are so lovely. You really are.
Oh, you guys. Oh, you touched me. Thanks.
Right, I'm going to end the call now. So for everybody else, don't forget we've got our multi-region training on at 9 o'clock. So I'll see you all then. Thank you, Leanna.
Bye. See you later.
Bye.